You're right.
Throughout the history of sports, athletes and their teams have fought adversity in different ways. Many teams utilize their other teammates and come together as one strong unit, while others focus on their own individual strengths and their own confidence to be successful. Throughout my research, I found that although fighting independently to overcome adversity is possible, ultimately working as a team is more successful because it combines unique skill sets to create one strong unit. One great example of teamwork is the 1980s Olympic hockey men's team, or as people like to call them, Miracle on Ice. This group of young men went into the Olympics as underdogs, but came out as the #1 team, which shocked the world. Many wonder how they jumped from the underdogs to being unbeatable. But this was through the leadership of their coach, Herb Brooks, and the consensus of the team to trust in him. Through the unconventional leadership of Herb Brooks, they came together. Years later, the teammates recall their time under the coach like a soldier remembering a drill sergeant from basic training. But afterwards, they came to appreciate Brooks' unconventional methods. Brooks motivated his players by pushing them to their absolute limit. This sometimes caused tensions, but he knew that it would bring the best out of everyone and the most skill. Additionally, it brought out leaders like their captain, Mike, as one to step up and lead the team. Another great example of a leader who utilized his teams is Kobe Bryant. Bryant was known to outwork everyone, but he also pushed everyone to be their absolute best. He motivated players, and this sometimes caused tensions, but this is also what separated himself as a leader. Kobe said that what separated themselves was that a lot of leaders fail because they don't have the bravery to touch that nerve or strike that chord. He would push and push and push every practice, which demanded excellence. This pushed them to train to be their best mentally and physically, and it got the most out of the team that he possibly could. Both Herb and Kobe brought the most talent from each athlete to create the best team. Franklin Roosevelt is another great example of a similar type of leadership. He, in his inaugural speech, he addressed the Great Depression, which America was currently in. The American citizens were under great economic stress, causing millions of unemployed workers, thousands of bank closures, and a drop in currency value. Many citizens awaited his speech in anticipation, hoping that it would bring some sort of relief. Roosevelt said that the first step was to not get more money, but to have an American shift in ethics. This surprised many people, but he said that small wonders that confidence languishes, for it thrives only on honesty, on honor, on the sacredness of obligations, on faithful protection, unselfishness, performance. Without them, it could not live. Roosevelt is addressing the underlying issue of selfishness in the American economy and pushing for unity. He's showing what a true unity will look like in the economy, and through the speech, it gave the nation hope, which ultimately led to a revival in the economy. However, teamwork has its limitations. With the wrong leadership, teams can be led in the wrong direction, which can cause tensions. Additionally, over-competitive players can lead to division in the team, which allows selfishness to flourish. With this phenomenon occurring, teams are unable to overcome adversity and therefore unsuccessful. Although there are many teams and organizations that use unity to overcome adversity, there are many examples of independence. One example of an athlete facing adversity alone is Billie Jean King. King is a retired American women's tennis player who is most famously known for transforming women's tennis and beating Bobby Riggs in the Battle of the Sexes, or a match that they played. King recognized the lack of diversity as she grew up playing tennis and was able to build her platform. She said that tennis was all white. White shoes, socks, clothes, even white balls at the time, and everyone who played. I remember wondering, where is everyone else? King was able to build her platform as she grew in tennis, which led her to play Bobby Riggs, a former men's player and a tennis hustler. Riggs challenged her to a game of the Battle of the Sexes to prove women's inferiority, but to Riggs' surprise, King won. This allowed her to build her platform even more and enabled her to found the Women's Sports Foundation. In this foundation, she grew all women's sports and addressed diversity and inclusion, but especially for tennis. She continues to fight with resilience, saying that I'm going to fight the good fight until my last breath. The dedication that King showed was also seen in the story of Through the Tunnel by Doris Lessing. In this story, a young boy named Jerry is on vacation with his mother. His mother allows him to leave her and go swim, and so he does so a little reluctantly. As he's swimming, he finds a group of older boys jumping off rocks and diving into the water. As he swims closer, he finds that they are going through a tunnel, coming out the other side, out into the water. To prove his own strength and independence, he decides that he's determined to do the same thing. After many failed attempts and struggles of not being able to go underwater for long enough and not being able to get through the tunnel, he is able to finally get through the tunnel. He's inspired and determined to do the same as these boys, and this story shows the power of resilience and determination of an individual. Jerry overcame obstacles, winning him his ultimate victory, similar to King. But both King and Jerry had to do this alone, which meant they had to struggle alone too. They couldn't ask for advice from others and get others' advice, which made for more struggle. This makes independence more difficult than teamwork, rather than using others for support. Individual triumphs by Billy and Jerry from Through the Tunnel demonstrates that individual triumph is possible. However, it is difficult because you have to struggle alone. Leaders like Herb Brooks, Kobe Bryant, and Franklin Roosevelt used the people around them as their support system, which allowed for greater unity and brought them to take advantage of teamwork to create one powerful unit. This makes teamwork more effective. Thank you.
Thanks. Did your research go in a different direction than you originally expected?
Yes, I first thought that I was going to focus more on fear, leading through fear and bring in teamwork and individuality, but not as prevalent. But as I focused more on the sources, I found that Franklin Roosevelt really called on his entire community in the American nation, and I found that Jerry from Through the Tunnel really just did it independently. So I thought that showed a good contrast between the two, and so I would focus on more individual versus teamwork.
Okay, thank you. What are the implications of the findings to our community?
Well, in our community there are lots of sports and lots of activities that people do either independently or alone. So I think my findings can help with building different sports and activities. We can focus more on unity and inclusion in not just team sports, but also individual sports, coming together and focusing on that.
Okay, thank you. Another round of applause.